During a game of truth or dare, my boyfriend Alex kissed his ex-girlfriend for a full 3 minutes. It was supposedly to save her from a silly penalty, but when I saw it, I completely fell apart. I started a huge fight, yelling and crying, unable to control the wave of anger and betrayal that washed over me. Alex didn't say anything at first. He just watched me with a blank, unreadable expression. Then, in a voice that was as cold as ice, he asked, "Are you done crying?" After that, he drove his ex home and didn't even look back at me. I was left squatting in the rain, soaked and shaking, watching other couples walk by sharing umbrellas and laughing quietly. That was the night I decided I would never contact Alex again. 3 months went by. One afternoon, I was at an auction and bought a men's watch. Somehow, word got back to Alex. When he heard about it, he apparently laughed and said to himself, "All right, I'll give it 3 days. I'll go get her back." He seemed to think I was just looking for an excuse to get back together. His friend even sent me a message to congratulate me, saying I had Alex wrapped around my finger. I ignored all of it. Instead, I posted a simple status on social media: married. The day Alex kissed his ex wasn't just any day, it was my birthday. He had promised to take me to a private villa to watch fireworks that night. I had spent a long time getting ready, picking out a red mini dress, even though it was already getting chilly. I stood outside waiting for him, shivering a little in the autumn air. Eventually, a sleek black car pulled up. I tried to ignore my mother's teasing look as I quickly got in. Inside, I reached for Alex's hand, trying to slide mine into his coat pocket for warmth. He tensed up, glanced at the driver, and then gently pulled his hand away, as if I had done something wrong. The car was heading toward the airport when his phone rang. I glanced at the screen and saw the name Mia. I felt a surge of irritation. Ever since she had come back from studying abroad, she seemed to be everywhere, inserting herself into every moment I tried to have with Alex. It always felt awkward when the three of us were together, but Alex never seemed to notice. If I ever brought it up, he would just accuse me of being too sensitive and not accepting of someone he'd known since he was a kid. This time was no different. When I tried to stop him from answering, he just brushed my hand away and picked up the phone. On the other end, Mia's voice was shaky and full of tears. "Alex, I'm at Champs Club," she sobbed. I saw the look on Alex's face change and my stomach dropped. Her words were broken, but the message was clear. She had lost a game of truth or dare, and the penalty was to kiss a man for 3 minutes. She didn't say what the alternative punishment was, just that she really didn't want to do it. Without a moment's hesitation, Alex said, "I'll be right there." After he hung up, he looked down and told the driver to take me home before he went to the club. I refused. "If you go, will you kiss her?" I asked him quietly. "Alex, I don't want a man who's been with someone else like that, and don't forget, it's my birthday." That was the one thing I couldn't accept. He reached out and pinched my cheek, but his expression was dark. "I won't. They'll show me some respect. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. Be good, Chloe." It wasn't long after I got home that my phone lit up with a video. It was filmed in a dark, private room. Mia was sitting on Alex's lap, kissing him deeply. When she leaned in, he didn't pull away. I could even see a small smile on his face. Even if Mia started it, the whole scene was far too intimate. People around them were cheering and laughing. Tears started streaming down my face. I called Alex right away, but he didn't answer. I called again. On the 3rd try, he finally picked up. I didn't hesitate. "Let's break up," I said, the words feeling like broken glass in my throat. It hurt more than I thought it would. Memories of our 3 years together flashed through my mind. Alex had always been distant and cold to most people, with that kind of arrogance that comes from having money and power. But with me, at least before Mia came back, he had been caring and even gentle. I started crying again, telling him about all the small ways things had changed since she returned. On Valentine's Day, he took me to a movie, but during the scary parts, he leaned over to cover Mia's eyes, not mine. I was his girlfriend. That should have been me. Alex always said he hated amusement parks, no matter how many times I asked him to go. But on his birthday, when I went to his villa to surprise him, he showed up with 2 bags full of cartoon toys. I later found out that Mia had dragged him to an amusement park that afternoon. I poured out everything I was feeling until my voice was hoarse. Alex was silent the whole time. When I finally ran out of tears, he said in that same cold voice, "Are you done crying?" There was a hint of annoyance in his tone, like he was tired of my drama. It felt like a bucket of ice water had been thrown on me. I suddenly realized how pathetic I must have sounded, breaking down over someone who couldn't even be bothered to comfort me. Yes, I whispered, and didn't say another word. He hung up. An hour later, I got a photo from an anonymous number. It was Alex carrying Mia to a car. Her hand was tucked into his coat pocket, and this time, he didn't push it away. I sank to the floor, closed my eyes, and just let the tears fall. After a long time, I got up, went to the bathroom, and washed my face. I pulled myself together and then told my parents everything, the breakup, the video, all the things I had been keeping inside. They were furious, but more than that, they were loving and concerned. Surrounded by their warmth, I finally felt a sense of relief. I was lucky. I had grown up in a home filled with love. I didn't need to cling to a man who didn't love me back. Maybe I couldn't let go completely just yet, but deep down, I knew I would, and probably sooner than I thought. That night, after Alex dropped Mia off at her house, he was getting ready to leave. Just before he turned to go, Mia blushed and asked if he wanted to stay. After everything that had happened, there was a heavy tension between them, full of unspoken adult intentions. Alex knew exactly what she was asking. But just then, a cold wind blew, and the moment was gone. Alex thought about my tearful pleas from earlier and shook his head with a bit of annoyance. No, Mia smiled knowingly. Let me guess. You're going to go comfort your little girlfriend now? Honestly, Alex, if you keep spoiling her, don't be surprised when she has you completely wrapped around her finger. You'll be dealing with endless breakups. Alex frowned, suddenly unsure of what he really wanted. The desire to go and comfort me faded away. With a quick nod, he said a simple goodbye to Mia and left. In his car, Alex found himself looking at his chat history with me. Seeing no new messages, he felt an unexplainable irritation. At the club, gossip spread fast. The moment Alex walked in, his friends started teasing him. It must be tough managing so many women. You've got the beautiful Chloe and your childhood sweetheart Mia, but you still look miserable, another friend joked. Probably because Chloe finally dumped him for real this time. Alex sat down on the sofa, crossed his legs, and gave them a cold look. Since when did you all get so chatty? The group went quiet, but they exchanged amused looks. From the look on your face, it seems like we hit a nerve, someone said lightly. Seriously though, Alex, kissing Mia while you're with Chloe? It might be common for us, but it's not exactly classy. Aren't you worried Chloe might actually leave you for good? Alex picked up his wine glass and took a slow sip. She's talked about breaking up too many times lately, he said coolly. Maybe it's time to let things cool down for a bit. The others laughed, understanding what he meant. True enough. 3 days later, my mom set me up on a blind date without giving me any choice in the matter. Before I knew it, she had me dressed in an elegant cream-colored dress. Just go and meet him, she said, gently pushing me toward the door. He's already waiting. If you don't show up, what am I supposed to say? I reluctantly agreed, but I planned to make my feelings clear as soon as I got there. Alex and I had just broken up, after all. It wasn't that I couldn't let go, I just wasn't ready to jump into something new. When I got to the private dining room my mom had told me about, I was surprised to see a young man in a casual white sweatshirt waiting for me. He had a youthful, energetic face and looked like he was no older than 22 or 23, like he had just finished college. More than that, he looked familiar. The moment he saw me, his eyes lit up with recognition. Chloe? My memory suddenly clicked. It was Leo, my mother's best friend's son. Years ago, when I was in college, Leo had stayed at our house for a while. He had been 18 back then, sent over by his mother because he was rebellious and had bad grades. My mom had warned me about him. He was the youngest in his family and known for being a troublemaker. The first time I saw him, he had a black earring and walked around with an arrogant attitude, followed by a group of rowdy friends. I still remembered standing on our balcony and watching him scowl at someone who teased him about being kicked out, yelling, "Get lost!" at them. I was 20 at the time and decided to keep my distance. But his defiant, handsome face had stayed in my memory. Now, meeting him again years later, he seemed completely different, more mature, calm, and much less rebellious. "Leo," I said, a little hesitant. He seemed surprised that I remembered him, and his smile grew wider. "Yes, it's me. I couldn't believe my mother had set me up with someone so young, especially someone I already knew. What was she thinking?" As I sat down across from him, the waiter brought out several dishes, all of them my favorites. I had planned to turn him down immediately, but now that we were face to face, it felt too awkward to be so blunt. After a moment of uncomfortable silence, I finally said, "You're pretty young. Isn't it a bit soon for you to be going on blind dates?" Leo's dark eyes met mine. "I was the one who asked my mom to set this up," he said calmly. "And no, I'm not too young." He had sharp, delicate features, a strong jawline, and a confident air about him, even in a casual sweatshirt. I could tell he was muscular underneath. His gaze was intense, sending a clear message I couldn't ignore. I looked away and softly explained that I had recently broken up with Alex. Leo's jaw tightened for a second, but then his expression softened. "That's in your past. It doesn't matter. You're single now, right?" He paused, his voice becoming gentler. "Besides, I've liked you for a long time." I was stunned and didn't know what to say. Throughout the meal, Leo barely ate. Instead, he spent his time thoughtfully peeling shrimp and crab for me. I felt embarrassed and gently told him, "You really don't have to." "It's too much trouble." Leo looked up, a flicker of disappointment in his eyes. "It's okay. Even if you don't like me, it doesn't change how I feel about you." I awkwardly looked down, unable to think of what to say. When we were leaving, Leo gently pinned me against the door. He leaned in closer, his eyes narrowing slightly before a faint smile appeared on his face. "What's wrong?" I asked nervously. He reached out and gently brushed his thumb across my lips. "Nothing, just a little smudge." Standing so close, I had to tilt my head up to look at him, and I noticed the gentle movement of his Adam's apple. Thankfully, he soon let me go and politely offered to drive me home. Before I could say no, he had already led me to his black Jeep. When we got to my building, Leo got out first to open the passenger door for me, but I was struggling with my seatbelt. Seeing my difficulty, he leaned in to help. The cool scent of amber and musk surrounded me as his face got closer. When the belt finally unbuckled, I instinctively moved forward and accidentally bumped my chest right into his face. I was instantly mortified. My cheeks burned red, and I hurriedly pushed him away, trying to jump out of the car. Unfortunately, I misjudged the distance and tumbled right out, knocking both of us to the ground. A chorus of shocked gasps came from nearby. I instinctively turned my head away, only to realize with even greater embarrassment that I had turned right into Leo's lips. Another wave of surprised murmurs followed. Flustered, I quickly pulled away. When I looked up, I saw my mother standing nearby with an elegant woman whose amused eyes were darting between Leo and me. "Isn't this moving a little too fast?" my mother commented, raising an eyebrow teasingly. "Ah, young people these days." The other woman sighed, clearly entertained. Mortified, I scrambled to my feet. Leo stood up too, his ears turning bright red. Trying to ease the awkwardness, he softly called out to the woman next to my mother, "Mom." Before either of us could explain, his mother stepped forward cheerfully. "So, does this mean your blind date was a success? Are you two officially dating now?" I opened my mouth to explain the misunderstanding, but Leo was already nodding eagerly. As I turned to him, he leaned in and whispered shyly, "That was my first kiss." All eyes turned to me, waiting for my response. Under everyone's expectant gaze, trying to explain seemed pointless, so I just nodded. After all, how could I possibly explain that I had accidentally fallen on top of Leo and kissed him in front of his mother? Later that evening, I got a message from Leo. "If you're not interested, don't feel pressured. I'm fine either way." His thoughtful message made me feel a little guilty. After thinking about it for a while, I decided there was nothing to lose. He was undeniably handsome, charmingly kind, and we already knew each other. Why not give it a real try? And so, my relationship with Leo began. He would pick me up regularly and take me to amusement parks, quiet hot springs, horseback riding, archery ranges, and surfing. He was always full of youthful energy and enthusiasm. Even when we watched movies, his eyes would be on me more than the screen. He was sweet, attentive, and obedient, like an affectionate puppy. The only issue, of course, was that he was younger than me. Every time I brought it up as a joke, my mother would just laugh it off. "Being young has its benefits," she'd say. "You'll see." Leo's birthday was coming up, and he invited me to his celebration early. I realized I had never given him a proper gift, so I decided to go to a charity auction to find something special. I had heard about a very expensive watch being auctioned that night. Even though Leo's wealthy uncle treated him like a son, I still wanted to give him something meaningful from me personally. Unexpectedly, at the auction, I saw one of Alex's friends, Ben, looking at the same watch. At first, he didn't see me. After several rounds of competitive bidding, I finally made the winning bid. As I stood up to complete the purchase, Ben finally recognized me, his eyes wide with shock. "Chloe, what are you doing here? Were you bidding on that watch?" I nodded and gave him a polite smile. Unlike Alex's other friends, Ben had always been nice to me, though we weren't close. I was already running late, so I quickly exchanged a few pleasantries and left for Leo's birthday party. The party was at the Champs Club, the biggest and most exclusive private venue in the city. I rushed home to change from my formal suit into a soft pink dress that hugged my curves, with a hemline that fell just above my knee. I styled my hair in loose waves and put on a little makeup, feeling a bit of excitement thinking about how Leo would react. Though Leo had offered to pick me up, I said no, knowing it wouldn't be right for the host to leave his own party. When I arrived at the private room with my gift, I noticed the door to the next room was slightly open. I could hear familiar voices coming from inside, including Alex's unmistakable tone. The city wasn't that big, so it wasn't too surprising to run into people you knew. Inside, Ben was saying, "Guess who I saw at the auction today?" "Who?" Alex asked casually from the sofa. Ben laughed. "Chloe, she bought that watch, the men's watch. I was actually bidding on it too," Ben continued, amused. "But Chloe really went for it. She spent way more than it was worth. It must have been for you." Alex leaned back, a smug smile on his face. "She's really trying everything this time, isn't she? Spending so much just to get over her pride." Ben sipped his drink thoughtfully. "She obviously still likes you. Aren't you going to try to get back together? It's been 3 months since she last contacted you." Alex smirked. "It's just a cold war." By now, she should have calmed down and realized her place. "I'll get her back in 3 days. She's stubborn, but I know exactly how to give her an easy way out." His meaning was clear. Everyone in the room exchanged knowing looks, their eyes finally settling on Mia, who was sitting next to Alex, looking uncomfortable. I had heard enough. I turned away sharply and pushed open the door to Leo's party. Leo's friends weren't what I expected. Despite being young and having different personalities, they were all remarkably polite and warm to me, almost as if Leo had told them about me beforehand. Several girls came up to me right away, chatting excitedly about fashion and jewelry. Once we got to know each other better, a few of them shyly gathered around me, hugging me and burying their faces against my chest. Leo quickly stepped in, his ears bright red with embarrassment, and protectively pulled me up. "Hey, even I haven't hugged her yet." "You guys are being way too bold." An awkward silence fell over the room. One of Leo's close friends rubbed his ear nervously. "Who was talking just now?" he muttered, pretending not to know. Leo shot him a cold look, and he immediately went quiet. When the party was over, I noticed that Leo's eyes had been on me the entire evening. I smiled softly and leaned toward him, teasing, "Do you want a hug too?" His eyes lit up, eager but hesitant. "Can I?" Before I could finish my sentence, Leo wrapped an arm securely around my waist. Nearby, a drunk guest whistled, his eyes lingering on me. Leo quickly took off his coat and draped it over my shoulders. "Sis, wait here, I'll get the car," he whispered gently. I nodded and waited, but after a few minutes, Leo still hadn't come back. When I went to the parking lot, I saw Leo pinning someone to the ground, throwing a series of relentless punches. His gaze was fierce and intense. He kept hitting the man until he heard me approaching. He looked up, his expression immediately changing to that of a guilty puppy caught doing something wrong. As he stood up, the man he had been beating scrambled away and disappeared. Leo looked a little crestfallen, which I found amusing. I stepped closer and reached up to gently ruffle his dark, messy hair. "Hasn't anyone ever told you that men don't like having their heads touched?" I teased with a soft laugh. His lips curled into a playful smirk. "Maybe regular men don't, but little wolf dogs like me do." After he washed his hands, Leo walked with me to the car. As soon as we were inside, he captured my lips in an intense kiss, whispering afterward, "This is exactly how a wolf dog behaves." Leo and I had been dating for almost 3 months. Recently, my mother had started gently suggesting the idea of marriage, saying that since we had known each other since we were kids and our families knew each other, she wasn't worried about my happiness. Watching Leo now, as he attentively reviewed some documents for me, I realized that marriage with him might actually be wonderful. He could handle chores, cook delicious meals, help with my work, and still be incredibly charming in private. He was a true all-rounder. Suddenly feeling decisive, I blurted out, "Leo, let's get married." He froze, slowly lifting his head to look at me. I was worried I had scared him and was about to explain myself when he suddenly lunged forward, pinning me down on the bed. His eyes sparkled eagerly, like a loyal puppy's. "You're finally ready to make it official?" he whispered excitedly. After I nodded shyly, his tall nose gently grazed mine, and his thin lips softly brushed against me. Even with my clear consent, he hesitated, careful not to push any boundaries. When Leo left the room, his posture was slightly hunched, and there were still traces of blood on his fingertips from the fight earlier. Watching him walk away with his shoulders drawn in, I suddenly realized how much he treasured me. We officially registered our marriage not long after. On the way back, Leo carefully put our marriage certificate into his jacket pocket as if it were a priceless treasure. When we arrived at his family's home, his grandmother greeted us warmly and gave me a delicate, nearly transparent white jade bracelet as a blessing. Leo's aunt, who used to be a wedding planner, enthusiastically took charge of all our wedding arrangements. His grandfather quietly told me that if Leo ever caused any trouble, I should let him know immediately. Once we got back to our new home, Leo eagerly lifted me onto the small cabinet by the door and kissed me passionately. He leaned forward, his body pressed firmly between my legs, leaving me breathless and able to do nothing but cling to his neck. "Chloe," he murmured tenderly, his eyes slightly red, making him completely irresistible. It was only then that I truly understood what my mother meant when she said marrying someone young was wonderful. When we finally made our way to the couch, I reached for him first. His eyes turned misty, and a muffled groan escaped his lips. At that moment, I understood why people say a man's tears can be a woman's aphrodisiac. Yet, before long, Leo completely turned the tables. In the end, it was me sobbing and begging him for mercy. He savored every moment, tirelessly yet gently, his fair skin glistening and his prominent Adam's apple bobbing with each heavy breath. What followed was a passionate collision of raw desire. From that day on, Leo seemed to have boundless energy. Thankfully, a sudden call from work about a new project gave me a much-needed distraction. I quickly gathered my things and rushed to the office, relieved. Still, I often came home completely exhausted. Leo, as considerate as ever, didn't pressure me. Until one afternoon when I came home early unexpectedly. From the hallway, I heard Leo's low voice repeatedly whispering my name, which made my ears burn with embarrassment. As I instinctively stepped back, I accidentally bumped into a chair with a loud thud. Moments later, Leo came out of the bathroom with a towel tied loosely around his hips. I swallowed hard, my cheeks warming up. Catching my gaze, he smiled knowingly and scooped me into his arms, carrying me back into the steamy bathroom. Life with Leo was blissful, and I gradually forgot all about the painful past. Until a phone call shattered my newfound peace. An unfamiliar number appeared on my screen. When I answered, Mia's unmistakable voice came through. "Do you know why Alex indulges me? Why he kisses me and takes me to amusement parks?" "Chloe, you're not naive enough to believe Alex and I are just friends, are you?" Her tone was calm, but there was a smug smile in her every word. I stared blankly at the bitter black coffee in front of me, suddenly losing my appetite for it. My mind flashed back to Leo's protective, jealous expression earlier that morning. When I had hesitated to come, he had softly whispered, "We need to face these things head-on and settle them. I know there's still a knot in your heart, and I want to help ease that burden. Unlike that old man who just watched you cry." Though my feelings for Alex had faded, a lingering resentment remained, not necessarily toward him, but toward the pain he and Mia had caused me, the debt they still owed. Mia, sensing my reaction, smiled faintly and pulled several photographs from her bag. "Because I'm Alex's ex-girlfriend. I just never agreed to make our relationship public at the time. I wanted freedom and insisted on studying abroad. Chloe, did you know that the day I left, Alex practically begged me to stay? So you see, you'll never truly compete with me. You're younger than him, and you probably think he's steady and mature, but that's only because he's already poured all his passion into me. I just didn't expect he'd genuinely fall for you." Her eyes showed a subtle anger as I sat there, looking at pictures of Alex making gifts for Mia and celebrating birthdays with her. I felt the fog in my heart finally lift completely. Even the last trace of resentment I had held against Alex vanished. Mia had expected to see hurt or jealousy, but all I felt was liberation, a quiet clarity, and the comforting reassurance that my heart had truly moved on. "You two really are a match made in heaven," I said flatly. "A scumbag and a woman who abandoned her boyfriend to chase freedom, only to come crawling back later and meddle in his new relationship. And him, a man who kept someone else in his heart while pretending to be with his current partner." Mia laughed, tossing her hair over her shoulder. "Chloe, don't say that. I was young then, and I left Alex to follow my dreams. Now, I'm just reclaiming what was mine all along, aren't I?" Just then, my phone vibrated. The caller ID was an unknown number, but the repetitive digits were unmistakable. I knew exactly who it was. I picked up the call, giving Mia a cool, dismissive look as I answered. "Relax," I said with a faint smile. "A second-hand man like him? I wouldn't fight for him even if he were the last person on earth, let alone care about him." Before I could finish, a low, raspy voice came through the line. "Chloe, what did you just say?" Without a word, I ended the call, blocked the number, grabbed my bag, and turned to leave. As I walked past Mia, I tipped the entire cup of iced coffee right onto her lap. "I used to think that as women we didn't need to tear each other down," I said calmly. "I never hated you. Alex was the one who betrayed me, after all. But you just had to come and flaunt your arrogance, didn't you? You insisted on standing in front of me, rubbing salt in my wounds with every smug word. So this is on you," Mia screamed behind me, but I didn't look back. As I walked away, I heard her sobbing into her phone, probably calling Alex. Moments later, his message came through. "Chloe, apologize to Mia." I ignored it completely and drove back to the office. When I got back to my desk, a message from Leo popped up. "I think I added too much salt," he wrote, along with a photo. In it, he was shirtless, wearing only a deep navy apron. His fair skin and sculpted muscles stood out as he stood at the stove, clearly in the middle of cooking. It was a live photo, so when I clicked it, the audio played. "Grandma, could you stand a little closer?" Leo's voice said, "Otherwise, Chloe won't see how handsome I am." A soft laugh followed. "Brat," his grandma said. "I'm old and can't see well, and you still pull me in for your pictures? I've got to win Chloe's heart," Leo said. "Who knows, maybe some shameless old flame will regret losing her." I couldn't help but laugh and typed a quick reply. He responded almost instantly, like an excited puppy waiting for attention. When I exited the chat, I noticed a flood of unread messages. They all said roughly the same thing. "Chloe, I didn't expect Alex to swallow his pride like this. Congrats, you really have him wrapped around your finger. He's such a proud man. And now he's practically begging to get you back." I remembered how they had all celebrated Mia's return in their group chat, placing her next to Alex as if it were some kind of soulmate reunion. The thought made my stomach turn. Then, remembering Leo's earlier message, I posted on Facebook, "Married, don't bother." The post included a photo of our marriage certificate, taken the day we registered. Just as I hit send, my assistant walked in with a stack of documents. I took them, set my phone aside, and got back to work. Meanwhile, when Alex heard what I had said on the call, a wave of panic washed over him. "Second-hand man," the words cut deep. My voice had sounded so cold, nothing like the Chloe he used to know. He had opened his mouth to respond, but I had already hung up. When he tried calling back, he realized he'd been blocked. Though he was on a business trip at the time, a strange sense of loss settled heavily over him, like something vital had just been ripped away. When his phone rang again, he snatched it up immediately. "Chloe," he said, hopeful. But it wasn't me, it was Mia, her voice thick with tears. "Alex, I invited Chloe out for tea today. I just wanted to talk to her, help her see things more clearly, but she poured iced coffee all over me." He barely registered what she said. The only word he truly heard was Chloe. Without thinking, he responded, "Chloe, apologize to Mia." The words had barely left his lips before he regretted them. But it was always like this with him. Ever since Mia came back, everyone around him had started treating her as his natural partner, leaving me on the sidelines. There had even been a time when he and Mia were sitting together, and someone offered me a distant seat in the corner. I refused, and Mia awkwardly stood up to offer her spot. When Alex got up briefly and returned to find me gone, he'd assumed I hadn't gone far. "She's easy to coax," he had thought at the time. "She's probably just sulking by the entrance." Still, he grabbed his car keys and went looking, but I was nowhere to be found. He remembered the way I used to cry, always holding back, proud even in pain. Tears would cling to my lashes, never falling, as if refusing to give him the satisfaction. Girls in their early 20s are easy to win back, he had believed. He had once picked out a gift for me, apologized sincerely, and even gestured toward a durian beside him with a sheepish smile. I hadn't made him kneel, just hugged his waist and said, "You can't do this again." So this time he thought it would be the same. He had seen the men's watch I bought and took it as a sign that I still cared. But then a message came through from Ben. "Alex, have you seen Chloe's Facebook? She got married." Attached was a glaring screenshot of my post. His hands went numb. The glass in his hand slipped and shattered against the desk, the sharp sound echoing the splintering in his chest. Later that night, around 10:00 p.m., I stepped out of the elevator after working late. I immediately spotted the familiar black car parked just outside the office building. Even after 3 months of no contact, I recognized him instantly. Alex had lost weight. His face looked sharper, his jaw more defined, but the arrogance he used to carry so easily was gone, replaced by something colder, more desperate. A cigarette dangled between his fingers as he leaned against the car door, his eyes bloodshot. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept, like he had driven all night from another city just to be here. Even though it was long past business hours, he still drew glances from the passing employees. Whispers floated through the air around us. I clutched my document bag tightly and stood quietly at the entrance. Then I stepped outside. Immediately, I felt Alex's intense gaze on me. Seeing I had no intention of approaching him, he took a few hesitant steps forward, calling out softly, "Chloe." I instinctively raised my head, giving him a polite but distant nod. "Mr. Alex." His fingers twitched uneasily as a faint frown appeared between his brows, clearly bothered by my coldness. "Chloe, listen," he began cautiously. "It was my fault. I should have told you about Mia much sooner, but please understand, that's all in the past. These past 3 months without you have been unbearable, but breaking up isn't something we should take lightly. You're younger than me. It's my responsibility to teach you these things. Come back with me and let's fix this. As for what happened with Mia this afternoon, I've already sorted it out. You won't see her again." Alex's arrogance was deeply ingrained in him. Even back when we were together, I had always been the one initiating affection, telling myself he was 5 years older, reserved and naturally less expressive. But now it was clear his passion had simply never been meant for me. My thoughts drifted back to the day Alex and Mia returned together from the amusement park. I'd been furious. Alex and I had argued bitterly, yet all he'd done was frown slightly, retreat to his study, and coldly tell me to calm down. Perhaps feeling guilty later, he'd sent someone to deliver an entire room full of plush toys the next day, but it had never been those toys that I wanted. What I'd craved most from Alex, he'd always reserved for Mia. Before, his heartfelt words might have stirred something inside me, but now, seeing him standing there, only one thought crossed my mind. Affection that arrives too late is as worthless as weeds. Love, once missed at the right moment, loses all its meaning. I looked straight into Alex's eyes, my smile indifferent and distant. "Mr. Alex, all that is in the past. When old lovers meet again, we can't pretend we're friends or dwell on what's already past. For me, it's all behind me now." Alex gazed at me, seemingly conceding slightly. "At least let me drive you home." At that moment, I caught sight of a familiar figure approaching from afar, and my lips curved into a faint smile. Looking up at Alex again, I spoke calmly yet firmly. "That won't be necessary. My husband is here to pick me up." Alex's expression froze momentarily before he let out a forced laugh. "Chloe, please, enough with the jokes. I don't believe you're married." "We haven't even officially broken up yet." Despite his confident words, his eyes betrayed an underlying panic he himself probably didn't recognize. Just then, Leo stepped smoothly to my side, casually slipping an arm around my waist. On his wrist was the sleek watch I'd gifted him for his birthday. "Sorry I'm late, babe," he said warmly, his voice gentle yet possessive. "I went to buy your favorite cake, but the line was ridiculous." Alex's face instantly drained of color. As Leo began guiding me away, Alex instinctively stepped in front of us, blocking our path. Leo raised an eyebrow in mild annoyance. looking at him as if noticing him for the first time. "Excuse us, old man." My mind wandered back to a day long ago. Mia had returned, and friends had automatically paired Alex with her, leaving only a corner seat for me. Feeling humiliated, I refused to sit, and Mia, sensing my discomfort, had given up her own spot. The moment Mia left, Alex had cried, prompting the others to console him. Someone had even frowned at me, demanding I apologize to him. I'd felt trapped, my lips pressed tightly together, refusing to yield. Seeing this, that person sat beside Mia instead. Furious and hurt, I had stormed out alone. Someone later asked Alex why he hadn't chased after me. He'd shrugged it off confidently, assuming I'd cool down easily, reassuring them. "Chloe is easy to pacify. Besides, we're on a mountainside. She can't go far. At worst, she'll sulk at the entrance." Still, despite his casual words, he'd grabbed his keys and driven out to find me, but I was nowhere in sight. Inexplicably, my tearful expression had haunted him. I had always been proud when upset. My tears would cling stubbornly to my lashes, refusing to fall. Young girls in their early 20s, after all, were typically easy to appease. Alex knew this well. Each time he chose an expensive gift, apologized gently, and made some amusing gesture. I'd soften. Instead of making him beg, I'd wrap my arms around his waist, quietly pleading, "Don't do this again." This time, Alex thought it would be no different. Seeing Leo wearing the watch I'd chosen for him reassured Alex somewhat, until Ben's message shattered that confidence. "Alex, have you seen Chloe's Facebook? She got married." The glaring screenshot filled his vision, and a glass cup slipped from Alex's fingers, shattering loudly on the floor. As the echo faded, something inside him shattered along with it. I shot Leo an amused glance. Alex was only 29, certainly not old enough to be called an old man, but Leo's teasing tone had just enough provocation to make anyone's fists itch. Alex stared at Leo in recognition, his expression freezing briefly before darkening into a scowl. "You and him?" Leo casually reached into his pocket and pulled out our marriage certificate with exaggerated ease. "Just officially married," he finished, flashing a triumphant smile. Alex's disbelief deepened, confusion clouding his refined features. "Chloe, we haven't broken up. We were just taking some time to cool off. Even if you're angry, you can't just marry someone else on a whim. He's younger than you, you're clearly not compatible." Leo bristled with anger, tightening his grip protectively around me. "I say we're compatible, so we are. Who the hell are you to tell us otherwise? We're a perfect match. 3 months? Do you seriously think a cooling-off period lasts that long? Haven't you heard the 3-day rule? No contact for 3 days means it's over. Besides, Chloe already made it clear she's done with you." He leaned closer, his voice dropping into a threatening whisper. "Old man, do yourself a favor and move on." As soon as we climbed into the car, Leo's usually playful eyes narrowed angrily. The moment the door shut, he wrapped his arms tightly around my waist like a clingy, wounded puppy. "Babe, don't listen to anything he says. We're perfect together." Perfect in every way, especially in bed. My face flushed instantly, and I quickly slapped a hand over his mouth to silence him. What I hadn't anticipated was Leo taking me directly to his family's estate that very night. At dinner, he repeatedly sighed dramatically, clearly fishing for sympathy. His family remained silent, accustomed to his dramatics, though their eyes showed faint disdain. Eventually, his grandmother spoke up, exasperated. "What's wrong with you?" Leo had clearly been waiting for this exact moment. Without hesitation, he launched into a detailed account of how Alex had tried to steal his beloved wife, painting him as an immoral homewrecker intent on destroying a happily married couple. He even theatrically declared, "If I lose my wife, life wouldn't be worth living." His grandmother became instantly furious. "How dare he? Trying to take away my granddaughter-in-law, unacceptable, this must be dealt with." At that moment, I fully understood why everyone cautioned never to cross Leo. He was utterly spoiled, shameless, and a genuine troublemaker. Yet, to my surprise, Leo's 2 powerful uncles nodded seriously in agreement, while even his strict father seemed resigned, though still shooting Leo a cold glare. It became clear to me that Alex's privileged days were over. Meanwhile, Alex himself barely remembered how he'd gotten home. He only knew that he woke to find his car crashed against a bridge railing. Calling his assistant to handle the mess, he was quickly rushed to a private hospital, a small wound on his forehead from broken glass shards. News spread quickly, and a crowd gathered anxiously outside his room. Fortunately, after treatment, the doctor assured everyone it was just a minor injury. Ben spoke up first. "Alex, weren't you going to meet Chloe tonight? How'd you end up in an accident?" "I told you earlier that online photo was probably just to provoke you. Why were you speeding?" Alex's mind immediately went to that provocative image online again, his heart clenching painfully. He had always assumed his cold treatment would teach me a lesson, making me stop using breakups as threats. He never imagined I'd genuinely move on so swiftly. Alex vividly remembered the day I had first mentioned breaking up. At the time, he'd been helping a drunken Mia leave a bar. He'd even briefly wondered if his passive acceptance of Mia's affection would affect me. Yet, he'd arrogantly dismissed the concern. As he was leaving, however, he'd overheard me saying decisively, "I don't want a man who's been soiled." When I had called him later, he'd hesitated but ultimately answered. It became immediately clear I'd already heard everything. Alex's first instinct had been to find the person who betrayed him, but none of that mattered anymore. From that moment on, I had truly moved forward. I was crying uncontrollably, heartbroken, completely shattered by the news. Alex had never heard me cry that way before. The first time he'd met me, I'd worn a bold red strapless gown, breathtakingly beautiful and radiating a blend of delicate grace and confidence. I had stood in the middle of a crowd of admiring young men, my slight frown indicating I was accustomed, perhaps even bored, with such attention. Alex overheard someone nearby discussing my impressive family background, marveling at my striking beauty. Watching my proud, slightly spoiled demeanor from afar, Alex felt his heart stir for the first time. Later, as the party wound down, I had been cornered by a drunken man. Alex immediately stepped forward, protecting me by having the man removed. He still vividly recalled, noticing how my ears turned faintly red in embarrassment. Even with their 5-year age difference, Alex couldn't suppress the feelings growing within him. At that time, Mia had already left him, and Alex found himself drawn into a relationship with me, uncertain at first how long it would last. 3 years passed in a heartbeat, and he remained faithfully by my side. But when Mia returned, his emotions became confused, tangled by the echoes of their shared past. Alex allowed Mia back into his life as just a friend, convinced he had control over his feelings. I had argued with him repeatedly about Mia's presence, but he found my concerns tiring. The night I declared I wanted to break up, Alex dismissed it as another fleeting outburst. Even when I ceased all communication afterward, he believed it was just another silent treatment phase. But now, Alex's eyes turned red, grief-stricken and lost. People nearby exchanged uneasy glances, quickly excusing themselves to avoid the tension, leaving only Ben by his side. Though Alex remained firmly in control of his family's company, he had many half-siblings, making the news of his emotional breakdown sensitive enough to keep quiet. "She got married?" Alex suddenly whispered, barely realizing he'd spoken aloud. He had always been composed, careful not to expose vulnerability, especially in matters involving business. Admitting such a deep loss openly was utterly unlike him. Ben appeared stunned. "She really got married? To whom?" Observing Alex's devastated expression, Ben thought silently to himself that maybe it wasn't too late. Perhaps they could win her back somehow. "Leo," Alex answered quietly, staring blankly out the window. Ben immediately fell silent. He understood then, with painful clarity, that Alex and I were truly over. He didn't have the heart to voice it aloud. After some hesitation, Ben left to fetch some food, leaving Alex alone. When the door closed softly, Alex pulled out his phone, attempting to message me, but a notification appeared. "You are no longer friends with this user." I had already deleted him, explaining why he couldn't access my social media. If he'd reached out sooner, if he'd recognized his mistakes earlier, would things have ended differently? Overwhelmed by regret, Alex finally let the tears fall, covering his face. He painfully recalled the day I had sobbed over the phone. Instead of comforting me, he'd snapped impatiently, "Are you done yet?" My long silence afterward marked the irreversible end of our relationship. On my wedding day with Leo, many guests attended, though oddly, not many from our former social circle appeared. Still, the banquet hall was lively and filled with warmth. To my surprise, Alex showed up. He looked noticeably thinner, worn out compared to before, I'd heard that Mia had gone abroad again, though I didn't know why. Her family had gone bankrupt years ago, and it had always been Alex's influence that allowed her to remain accepted socially. Not long ago, I'd even overheard others mocking Mia for trying to seduce a foreign student overseas. Alex seemed even more exhausted and haggard than the last time I'd seen him. When Leo stepped onto the stage first, he appeared visibly nervous, half joking to his friends. "Don't let her run away at the last minute." His close friends burst into laughter. "Relax, Leo. We've got an eye on her," they reassured him playfully. Even as Leo moved forward, he repeatedly glanced back toward the entrance, anxiously awaiting my arrival. When the banquet hall doors opened and I stepped inside, Leo's smile widened joyfully. "My wife is absolutely stunning," he declared loudly, prompting laughter and affectionate applause from his aunts and older relatives. As music softly filled the room, I walked steadily toward him. Standing before Leo, his gaze fixed deeply onto mine, and suddenly, tears streamed down his cheeks. Embarrassed, he quickly covered his eyes and lowered his head. In the audience, his grandmother and aunt dabbed at their own misty eyes, moved by his genuine emotion. I stepped forward and gently embraced him. Nearby, my father shook his head, amused and slightly incredulous. "Kid, why are you crying?" "I'm the one giving away my precious daughter, and even I haven't shed a tear yet." Leo laughed softly, wiping his tears away. When my father's trembling hand placed mine into Leo's grasp, Leo's fingers shook slightly as he held on tightly. During the ring exchange, Leo paused briefly to calm his nerves, finally managing to slip the ring gently onto my finger. With that gesture, our marriage became official. Descending from the stage, hand in hand, my eyes caught sight of Alex quietly seated in the far corner. Even from afar, I could see his eyes were red with unshed tears. After the ceremony, during the lively toast, Alex disappeared. He had left without a word. The celebration continued joyfully around us, glasses clinking and cheerful laughter echoing throughout the hall. Eventually, Leo and I decided to quietly slip away with our best man and maid of honor to our new home. Leo went ahead to get the car while I waited nearby. Standing there, I overheard a familiar voice from the luxurious car parked close by. Alex was speaking softly, his tone low and raspy as he addressed Ben inside the car. "I sent Mia away because she crossed the line by confronting Chloe," Alex confessed quietly. "Sometimes I wonder, if Mia hadn't come between us, would it have been me standing beside Chloe today? She looked stunning today, radiant beyond words. But she wasn't mine anymore." Unable to bear hearing any more, I quietly turned away and climbed into Leo's car. As he drove, a permanent, joyful smile lit up his handsome face. My thoughts drifted back to earlier that morning when he'd arrived to pick me up from my family home, wearing a crisp white suit, his dark hair falling messily yet charmingly across his forehead. He had rushed into the room and lifted me effortlessly into his arms, celebrating like a victorious knight returning from battle. Cheers and laughter had erupted around us, drowning out all memories of sadness. Yes, I told myself silently, the past truly belonged in the past. When we arrived at our villa, Leo wasted no time at all. By nightfall, he had eagerly sent everyone away, practically dragging me into our bedroom. His white shirt slipped gracefully from his shoulders, revealing his smooth, toned back, broad shoulders tapering perfectly into a lean waist. Even without seeing his face, his youthful strength and vitality were impossible to ignore. Gently, he took my hand and pressed it lightly against his firm abs. His warm lips quickly found mine. In the peaceful stillness of the evening, soft, restrained sighs blended harmoniously with the moonlight streaming through the window. His love was both fervent and deeply sincere. Before drifting into a restful sleep, a quote I once read came clearly to mind. "May the next time we cry, it be from pure happiness." From Leo's perspective, the first time he laid eyes on me was in the sunlit courtyard of my family's villa. He had chased away all the others crowding around and casually glanced up, spotting me lounging lazily on the balcony, dressed in simple shorts and a loose tank top. My slender waist, elegant legs, and gently flowing hair were captivating, effortlessly holding his attention. Perhaps sensing his lingering gaze, I quickly stood and vanished indoors. Originally, Leo had intended to spend his visit in a hotel, feeling it more appropriate as he was now an adult, but the fleeting image of my delicate face changed everything. Oddly enough, I appeared wary of him from the day he moved in. I avoided eating meals downstairs. Even the housekeeper began murmuring about my sudden absence from family gatherings. On his final night in the villa, Leo returned late and unexpectedly encountered me in the kitchen, sleepily drinking water. I seemed dazed, clearly mistaking him for someone else. After placing my glass down, I stumbled softly into his chest, my arms wrapping comfortably around his waist. I murmured something unintelligible, but Leo was too distracted by my faint fragrance and the way his heart raced wildly at my unexpected closeness. The next time Leo heard my name was through an overheard conversation between his mother and my mom, who were discussing my new boyfriend. Leo pressed his lips into a tight line, remaining silent despite the fierce jealousy burning deep within. I was in college then, and he forced himself to bury his feelings, believing there was nothing he could do. Yet, during summer vacations, he'd find subtle reasons to visit my house, always confirming the same thing. I was still cautious around him. Eventually, unable to suppress his emotions any longer, Leo hired someone to discreetly investigate Alex. When he learned the truth of Alex's complicated involvement with me, Leo immediately approached his mother and confessed his long-hidden feelings. Determined, he insisted that she set him up on a blind date with me. Naturally, she refused at first, shocked by his boldness. "If I can't marry Chloe, then I'll never marry anyone," Leo declared firmly. His mother, clearly annoyed, snapped, "Suit yourself." Leo glanced at the curious crowd eavesdropping from the living room and joked lightly, "Well, if I don't get married, maybe I'll just become a homewrecker eventually." His persistence paid off, and his family reluctantly agreed to arrange the date, unwilling to risk any scandal. Unexpectedly, I myself took the initiative that evening, surprising him with a kiss. From that moment onward, everything fell perfectly into place. Leo played the role of a devoted boyfriend so convincingly that I quickly lowered my guard and wholeheartedly accepted him. One night, after Leo had beaten up a drunken troublemaker, he feared I might become frightened and leave him. For a moment, he felt completely helpless. But I simply smiled gently, affectionately ruffling his hair. At that instant, the pure white moonlight of his youth shone brightly on him once again, illuminating his heart as clearly as it had that summer when he was 18. From that day forward, Leo's and my futures were forever intertwined.